September 18th, 2022, Bicester, Oxfordshire, England. Inside room M15 of a rundown Travelodge hotel, an 18-year-old autistic teenager sits cross-legged on his bed, hunched over a cheap Amazon Fire TV stick, plugged into the hotel television. No laptop, no high-tech equipment, just a smartphone, a wireless keyboard, a mouse, and a hotel TV. His name is Aryan Kurtaj, and in the next few hours, he's about to pull off one of the most audacious hacks in gaming history, leaking 90 clips of the unreleased Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the most anticipated video games of all time. The kicker, he's already on bail. The police have confiscated his computer. He's under protection in this hotel because rival hackers have doxed him online, and he's doing all of this with equipment you could buy at any electronics store for under $100. But this wasn't Kurtaj's first rodeo. By the time he broke into Rockstar Games that September night, he'd already hacked Nvidia, Microsoft, Uber, Revolut, Samsung, and countless others as a key member of Lapsus, an international hacking group made up almost entirely of teenagers. They weren't sophisticated. They weren't Russian state actors. They were kids, and they brought some of the biggest tech companies in the world to their knees using tactics so simple, cybersecurity experts called them script kiddies. Yet somehow, these teenagers succeeded where trained professionals had failed. This is the story of Aryan Kurtaj, the autistic teen hacker who became the mastermind behind Lapsus, leaked GTA 6 footage that broke the internet, and ultimately found himself sentenced to an indefinite stay in a secure psychiatric hospital. This is a story about genius, chaos, and the thin line between them. Let's rewind. 2021. The hacking group Lapsus Tobo first appears on the scene, hitting the Brazilian Ministry of Health in December. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows where they're from, but their calling card is unmistakable. Brazen attacks, public taunts, and a complete disregard for consequences. They operate out in the open, using Telegram to announce their hacks, recruit members, and even poll their 50,000 followers on which companies they should target next. It's part cybercrime, part performance art, and it's working. Behind the scenes, Aryan Kurtaj is pulling strings. Going by aliases like White, Breachbase, and Teapot Uber Hacker, Kurtaj is described by investigators as one of the group's key players. He's from Oxford, England. He attends a special needs school for autism. His father describes him as very good on computers, the understatement of the century. What makes Kurtaj different isn't just his technical skill, it's his audacity, his complete lack of fear. While other hackers operate in shadows, Kurtaj and Lapsus operate in broad daylight, daring companies to stop them. January 2022, Kurtaj, just 16 years old at the time, is arrested for the first time by the City of London police. They suspect him of being involved in Lapsus attacks, but there isn't enough evidence yet to hold him. He's released under investigation. Kurtaj goes right back to hacking. February 15th, 2022, Nvidia, the massive graphics card manufacturer, gets hit hard. Lapsus breaches their systems and steals 1 terabyte of commercially sensitive firmware, the core software that makes Nvidia's chips work. They leak 80 gigabytes of it publicly and demand a ransom to stop the rest from going out. The US government initially fears this might be a Russian state-sponsored attack, given the tensions building at the Ukrainian border. But no, it's just Lapsus Dolo, just teenagers using Nvidia's own contractors' accounts, which they'd compromised through phishing and social engineering. The attack causes millions in damages, and Lapsus brags about it on Telegram, posting screenshots and taunting their victim. Here's what made Lapsus so effective and so terrifying. They didn't use sophisticated malware or zero-day exploits. They used social engineering. They bought stolen credentials from initial access brokers on the dark web. They performed SIM swaps, tricking phone companies into transferring victims' phone numbers to SIM cards they controlled. Then they'd intercept 2-factor authentication codes sent via text message. Simple, brutally effective, and nearly impossible to defend against if you're the target. March 2022. Microsoft confirms a breach. Lapsus has stolen source code for Bing Maps, and Cortana. They leak 37 gigabytes of it. Then Samsung, then Okta, the authentication software company, then Ubisoft. Company after company falls. The cybersecurity world is baffled. How are a bunch of teenagers doing this? A July 2023 report by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Cyber Safety Review Board would later describe Lapsus as unique for its effectiveness, speed, creativity, and boldness. They weren't the most sophisticated hackers, but they were fast, they were creative, and they didn't give a damn. But here's where it gets messy. The hacking community doesn't like attention, and Lapsus was drawing a lot of it. Rival hackers, angry at the publicity Lapsus was generating, decided to retaliate. They doxed Aryan Kurtaj, posting his real name, his address, photos of him, everything. Suddenly, Kurtaj wasn't an anonymous hacker anymore. He was a target. March 2022. Kurtaj is arrested again. This time, the charges are more serious, but he's released on bail with strict conditions. No internet access. No computers. The police place him in a Travelodge hotel in Bicester, under protection for his own safety. They take his laptop. They think that's the end of it. They're wrong, because Kurtaj isn't done. Not even close. Despite being on bail, despite having his equipment confiscated, despite being under police watch, Kurtaj keeps hacking. He buys an Amazon Fire TV stick. You know, the thing you use to stream Netflix. He connects it to the hotel TV, pairs it with his smartphone, adds a wireless keyboard and mouse, and just like that, he's back online. The police have no idea. September 2022, Uber gets hit. The ride-hailing giant's entire internal system is compromised. Employees log in to find pornographic images on their internal pages, alongside a message. "Fuck you, wankers." The hacker sends messages to staff, forcing Uber to temporarily shut down the entire application. The company loses approximately $2.8 million. Security researchers and the New York Times are contacted by someone claiming responsibility. It's Kurtaj, operating from a budget hotel room with equipment that costs less than a video game console. Days later, Revolut, the fintech company, is breached. Kurtaj attempts to access 74,000 customer records, allegedly planning to sell them on the black market. But he's just getting warmed up, because what comes next will shake the gaming world to its core. September 18th, 2022, Grand Theft Auto, the franchise that's generated over $7 billion in revenue. GTA 5 alone has sold over 185 million copies, making it one of the best-selling games of all time. And Rockstar Games, the developer, has been working in complete secrecy on GTA 6 for years. Nobody outside the company has seen it. Nobody knows what it looks like. The game hasn't even been officially announced yet. The anticipation is massive. The security is tight, or so everyone thought. Kurtaj, working with other unknown Lapsus members, uses a phishing scam to target a developer at Rockstar Games India, one of the company's newest studios. The developer is working from home. They click on a malicious email link. Their browser data is logged. Kurtaj now has access to Rockstar's internal Slack messaging channels. He's inside, from his hotel room, using nothing but a Fire TV stick and his phone. Kurtaj downloads 90 clips of unreleased GTA 6 gameplay footage. This is the holy grail for gaming leaks. Raw, unfinished. Footage of a game that won't be officially revealed for over a year. He also grabs chunks of the game's source code, the actual programming that makes GTA 6 work. Then Kurtaj makes his move. He posts a message to Rockstar's internal Slack. "If Rockstar does not contact me on Telegram within 24 hours, I will start releasing the source code." It's a ransom demand, pure and simple. But Rockstar doesn't respond, or maybe they do, and Kurtaj doesn't like what they say. Either way, he follows through. The footage hits the internet. 90 clips of GTA 6 gameplay. The gaming community loses its mind. Forums explode. YouTube videos rack up millions of views within hours. Everyone's analyzing every frame, every detail, every scrap of information about this unreleased game. It's the biggest gaming leak in history. Rockstar is forced to confirm the footage is real and that they've been hacked. The company reports losses of $5 million and thousands of staff hours spent on recovery and damage control. But here's the thing about Kurtaj. He didn't seem to care about money as much as other hackers. The prosecution would later describe Lapsus as motivated by notoriety, financial gain, or amusement. That last part, amusement, seems key. A U.S. cybersecurity report noted that Lapsus seemed to work at various times for notoriety, financial gain, or amusement, and showed a juvenile desire to stick two fingers up to those they are attacking. This wasn't just crime. This was chaos. This was kids with god-tier hacking skills saying, "We can do whatever we want, and you can't stop us." September 22nd, 2022, 9 p.m. City of London. Police officers stack up outside room M15 at the Travelodge Bicester. They've been conducting surveillance, tracing Telegram accounts, following digital breadcrumbs. They know someone behind the Uber and Rockstar hacks is in that room. They know the Telegram username, a Lily Howarth. They're expecting to find Lily Howarth. Instead, they find 17-year-old Aryan Kurtaj lying on the bed with an iPhone 13 Pro Max tucked slightly under the covers. That phone, investigators later determine, was used in several of the hacks. To this day, they haven't accessed it. Kurtaj refuses to give them the PIN. The trial begins at Southwark Crown Court in London. 7 weeks of testimony. But there's a problem. Psychiatrists have deemed Kurtaj unfit to stand trial due to his severe autism, so the jury is given an unusual task. They're not being asked whether Kurtaj committed these crimes with criminal intent. They're simply being asked, did he do these acts? Yes or no? The evidence is overwhelming. GPS data placing Kurtaj at locations connected to the hacks. Digital forensics, showing his devices accessing victim networks. Testimony from cybersecurity experts. Records of Telegram messages. The jury doesn't need long. After more than 9 hours of deliberations, they reach a unanimous verdict on all 12 charges. Guilty. Guilty on 6 counts of unauthorized access to a computer designed to impair its operation. Guilty on 3 counts of blackmail. Guilty on 2 counts of fraud. Guilty on failing to comply with a Section 49 notice, refusing to give police his phone's passcode. A 17-year-old co-defendant who cannot be named due to his age is also convicted. He's found guilty of 1 count each of unauthorized access, fraud, and blackmail related to the NVIDIA hack and other Lapsus activities. He receives an 18-month youth rehabilitation order, but Kurtaj's sentence is different. December 21st, 2023. The judge delivers the sentence. He describes Kurtaj's actions as causing nearly $10 million in damages across multiple companies. He notes that while in custody awaiting trial, Kurtaj has been violent, injuring staff, damaging property. He says that Kurtaj has expressed a continued desire to return to cybercrime the moment he's released. The judge calls him a high risk to the public due to his skills and intentions. The sentence: indefinite detention in a secure hospital, not prison, a psychiatric facility that balances mental health care with custody. Kurtaj will remain there for life unless doctors determine he no longer poses a danger to society. It's a life sentence, essentially, but in a hospital instead of a prison cell. Kurtaj's defense team argues that the successful release of the official GTA 6 trailer, which racked up over 60 million views in less than 24 hours on YouTube, proves the hack didn't cause serious harm to Rockstar. The game is still massively anticipated. The leak didn't kill it, but the court isn't convinced. The damage was done. Source code was stolen. Staff hours were wasted. Security had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Kurtaj's mother makes a statement to the court. The thought that he could take someone else's life is unbelievable, she says, defending her son's character. We know him to be a kind and gentle person. The jury got this one wrong, but the evidence told a different story. This wasn't a kind, gentle person who accidentally stumbled into cybercrime. This was someone who, even after being arrested twice, even after having his equipment confiscated, even while under police protection in a hotel, found a way to keep hacking, found a way to breach Uber, found a way to breach Revolut, found a way to leak GTA 6. Here's what makes this story so fascinating and so disturbing. Aryan Kurtaj is autistic. He attended a special needs school. He struggled with social interaction, but when it came to computers, he was operating at a level that baffled professional cybersecurity experts. The attacks he orchestrated required social engineering, manipulating people, understanding human psychology, exploiting trust. Yet in person, he struggled with basic social skills. It's a paradox. How does someone who has difficulty reading social cues become a master at manipulating people through phishing emails and social engineering? Attacks? The answer might lie in the digital divide. Online, Kurtaj wasn't face-to-face with anyone. He was working with text, with code, with systems. The rules were different. The social complexities that made real-world interaction difficult didn't exist in the same way. He could script his interactions, plan them, control them, and in that environment, he thrived. But there's a darker question here. Lapsus targeted massive corporations: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Uber, Rockstar Games. These are companies with billions in revenue and armies of cybersecurity professionals. If teenagers using basic phishing scams and social engineering can breach them, what does that say about our digital security? The Department of Homeland Security's report on Lapsus Dolens was damning. It concluded that while Lapsus wasn't the most sophisticated threat group out there, they exposed massive vulnerabilities in how even well-defended organizations handle security. They showed that all the firewalls and encryption in the world don't matter if a contractor clicks on the wrong email link, if an employee falls for a phishing scam, if someone at a telecom company gets tricked into performing a SIM swap. Lapsus Dolens didn't hack companies. They hacked people, and people are always the weakest link. The group's methodology was shockingly simple. They'd buy stolen credentials from dark web marketplaces, login information captured by malware that infected random people's computers. They'd perform SIM swaps by calling up phone companies and convincing customer service reps to transfer a target's phone number to a SIM card controlled by Lapsus. Then, when the target tried to log in with two-factor authentication, the code would go to Lapsus instead. They'd spam login approval requests over and over until a tired contractor, annoyed by the notifications, just approved one to make it stop. That's how they got into Uber. Not sophisticated malware, not a zero-day exploit, just annoying someone. Until they clicked yes. They recruited insiders by posting ads on the clear web and dark web, promising large, rapid payments for employees willing to help them. Some took the bait, and once Lapsus was inside a network, they'd use remote desktop tools like AnyDesk and TeamViewer, legitimate software that IT departments use every day to move laterally through systems, disable security monitoring tools, and exfiltrate whatever data they wanted. It was bold, it was brazen, and it worked. Now, Lapsus is largely inactive, with Kurtaj hospitalized indefinitely and several other members arrested. The group's Telegram channel has been silent since 2022, but cybersecurity experts believe other members are still out there, still active, possibly operating under different names. The FBI estimates Lapsus had 10 to 11 members spread across the UK and Brazil. Only a handful have been caught. The case raised serious questions about how the justice system handles young offenders with mental health conditions. Kurtaj's defense attorney, Neve Matthews Murphy, released a statement saying she hoped the case would shine a light on the way that vulnerable individuals with severe neurodevelopmental disorders interface with the police and criminal justice system. Kurtaj wasn't fit to stand trial in the traditional sense. He couldn't fully participate in his own defense, yet he was deemed too dangerous to release. So he'll spend potentially the rest of his life in a psychiatric hospital, receiving treatment, but also confined, until doctors decide he's no longer a risk. It's a complicated outcome for a complicated case. On one hand, Kurtaj caused millions of dollars in damage. He violated the privacy of countless individuals. He disrupted major companies. He showed a pattern of reoffending even after being arrested, even after being warned, even after having his tools taken away. On the other hand, he's an autistic teenager who clearly needs help, who clearly has extraordinary abilities that, in a different context, could have been channeled into something productive. Cybersecurity firms would pay 6 figures for someone with his skills. Instead, he's locked in a hospital indefinitely. The GTA 6 leak, meanwhile, has become part of gaming legend. When Rockstar finally released the official GTA 6 trailer in December 2023, over a year after Kurtaj's leak, it broke records, accumulating more than 60 million views in under 24 hours. The game is slated for release in 2025, potentially becoming the biggest entertainment launch in history and forever. That game will be linked to the story of the autistic teenager who hacked it from a hotel room with a Fire TV stick. There's something almost poetic about it. Grand Theft Auto is a game about crime, about breaking rules, about operating outside the law. And the biggest leak in its history was pulled off by a real-life criminal who broke every rule in the book. Life imitating art, or maybe art, predicting life. So what's the takeaway here? What do we learn from the story of Aryan Kurtaj and Lapsus? First, that age and sophistication don't always correlate with impact. These were teenagers. They weren't nation-state hackers. They weren't members of organized crime syndicates. They were kids who met online, learned to hack, and decided to see how far they could push it. And they pushed it all the way to the top. They breached some of the most secure companies on Earth. Second, that human psychology is still the biggest vulnerability in cybersecurity. You can have the best firewalls, the strongest encryption, the most advanced threat detection systems money can buy. But if one person clicks on a phishing email, if one contractor approves the wrong login request, if one customer service rep falls for a social engineering scam, all of that security means nothing. Lapsus had proved that hackers don't need to be technical geniuses. They just need to understand people. Third, that neurodiversity is complicated. Kurtaj's autism clearly shaped his relationship with technology and his behavior. It's part of what made him brilliant with computers, and part of what made him unable to understand the real-world consequences of his actions. The justice system struggled to handle this. How do you punish someone who can't fully grasp why what they did was wrong. How do you rehabilitate someone whose condition makes traditional rehabilitation difficult? There are no easy answers. And finally, that the internet has created new kinds of criminals and new kinds of crimes that our legal and social systems aren't fully equipped to handle. 15 years ago, a teenager in a hotel room couldn't have brought down Uber, couldn't have leaked a billion-dollar game, couldn't have caused millions in damages from a bed with a Fire TV stick. But today, with the right knowledge and the right tools, anyone can. Geography doesn't matter. Resources don't matter. All that matters is skill, motivation, and a willingness to break the law. Aryan Kurtaj had all three. Today, he sits in a secure psychiatric hospital somewhere in the UK. No laptop, no smartphone, no internet access, just therapy sessions, medication, and an uncertain future. Will he ever be released? That's up to the doctors. Will he ever use his skills again? That's up to him and to whoever's monitoring his treatment. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, the next Aryan Kurtaj is probably learning to code, probably browsing dark web forums, probably figuring out how to fish credentials and perform SIM swaps, because for every hacker who gets caught, there are 10 more waiting in the wings, and they're getting younger, they're getting bolder, and they're getting better at exploiting the one thing that never changes: human nature. The GTA 6 leak was a wake-up call, not just for Rockstar, but for every company that thinks they're secure, for every organization that underestimates the threat posed by teenage hackers, for every system that relies on humans to make the right security decisions every single time. Because Aryan Kurtaj proved something terrifying: that all it takes is one smart teenager, one cheap piece of equipment, and one person who clicks the wrong link. And suddenly, your billion-dollar security infrastructure means nothing. That's the legacy of the teen hacker who released GTA 6 videos. Not just the leak itself, but what it represents. A new era of cybercrime, a new kind of criminal, and a new reality where the biggest threats don't come from organized syndicates or foreign governments. They come from kids in hotel rooms with Fire TV sticks and way too much time on their hands.